Yo, what's up, and welcome inside the opening line of Monday edition. Thanks to everybody for subscribing, seeing those numbers going up. Don't forget to like and share the videos. Also, right quick, let's start off by letting you know that season-long fantasy football is coming up. So you want to hop in there and sign up to Fantasy Guru's site right now before the price goes up, because I guarantee you that's coming. A lot of you have been asking me where I'll be doing my fantasy football at this season. I know that I'll be a part of it, so starting to get that stuff together right now. So you want to get down with the get down before it gets a little bit more pricey. What's the deal with you, Benny? How was your weekend? Did you go down the shore?
No, not last weekend. This weekend I'm going down. So I'm going.
This weekend is grand opening.
Yeah, this weekend is Memorial Day weekend, man. That's how we roll in Jersey. So I'll probably heading down Thursday. I'll probably do the show Friday from down there somewhere. I'm going to my parents' beach place this weekend because we didn't close. We closed on our house at the end of June, right when the kids get out of school.
So y'all be there by the 4th.
Yeah. So for now, I'm still renting a little bedroom corner space at my parents' place for the moment. But pretty soon we'll have our own place down there, and then it's gonna be wild, bro.
I will be coming down there. I have to make my I was told after last year's Boob Olympics, because I'm not a Jersey Shore guy at all, you know what I'm saying? But when we had the Boob Olympics last year, the homies at DJ's was like, you got to make an annual trip to DJ's every summer. So I will make my trip to DJ's every summer. What I like about DJ's, Benny, is that the people at DJ's are the same complexion as me. Funny.
Yeah, no, that's actually, it depends where you go on the Jersey Shore. Like, I'm not gonna lie, down by LBI, it's a lot whiter. It's a lot whiter down there. So, like, when you come down, it's all good. But, like, I'm not gonna let you out of my sight. Like, we got to go out together because,
Oh, no, trust me. My trip down there last year, I was telling Michelle and Craig Carton, keep an eye on me. But it was nothing but love. And like I said, the people are the same complexion because that's how hardcore tanning, that's how hardcore they tan. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's, put it this way. When the summertime rolls around, there's a lot of brown people down there that aren't normally brown people.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute. How come you're the same complexion as me? You know what I'm saying?
It's nice when you don't have to work like a lot of these people do, when you get to sit in the sun for 12 hours a day. I mean, you're going to get a little bit darker.
No doubt about it. So shout out to everybody down there, and I will make a trip. I see the boys are already starting to get ready. I know the big program and headline is coming up this weekend, so shout out to everybody that'll make a trip down to the shore for those summer weekends. That time is coming back. Benny, how was your weekend? What were some of the highlights?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Giannis keeps grabbing over 12.5 rebounds a game, so I just keep
I don't know why.
I bet it every time they play. I just keep padding the bankroll with that. So that worked out well. UFC was good this weekend. Mad Lab was on a lot of the guys that were winning. There was a lot of those like minus 500 favorites though. So, I mean, you just parlay them all together. You get it back to even money like we always talk about, and you double your money over there. So that was a good thing there as well. That worked out pretty good. I was on Golden State in that game, which I think I was one of the few people on Golden State. It felt like everybody thought Portland was going to blow them out and make that.
Golden State plus 2.5, and I had Golden State on the money line.
Yeah, I had them on the money line, so I'll take that.
I had Draymond to get a triple-double and the Warriors to win.
Did he have the triple-double?
He had the triple-double.
Nice. What did that pay? That was probably like what, plus 200, plus 300?
That was plus 1,000.
Really?
I only had $10 on it.
That's an extra $100 you put in the pocket. There's nothing wrong with that.
I know. I wish I'd had a little bit more on it. But I know he hadn't had a triple-double in this series yet, and I figured the series wouldn't go through without him having one. And we can start right there, Benny. He's been fantastic.
I mean, that's honestly fantastic. It's kind of an understatement. He's been unbelievable. What I liked a lot about that last game in the series, he was getting rebounds and pushing the pace. Like he was the one who was, I'm not saying like playing point guard, but like he was pushing the ball up the floor and making things happen and forcing Portland to kind of scramble and react. And when they're doing that, somebody misses an assignment, you get an open three for one of your shooters. They're better off playing that up and down style than they are trying to play a half-court style with the team they have right now. Because remember, there's no DeMarcus Cousins, there's no Kevin Durant, and Andre Iguodala's banged up too. He didn't play a lot of minutes that last game. He might not even play coming up here in Game 4. So they're not going to be able to play teams in a half court. Like, you can kind of get away with it with Portland because without Nurkic in the middle, Portland's half-court defense is not what it was like at the beginning of the season when they were one of the better defenses in the league. But still, you know that teams are concentrating on Steph. You know that teams are concentrating on Clay. It's easier to guard you when you start taking some of these stars off the floor and, putting in the Kevon Looney's and the Alfonso McKinneys and guy like that who have to play minutes now that there's no Durant and there's no DeMarcus Cousins and, Andre Iguodala being down. So the more easy shots you can get, the better. And the more possessions that you can have in a game with the Warriors with the way that they score, the better it's going to be for them. So Draymond pushing the pace there was a real big factor for them winning that game.
When they are playing their best, Benny, that's exactly how they played Draymond, more or less at that point forward, him running the break and stuff like that. If you remember when they had that big controversy with him and Kevin Durant early in the season, on that particular play, when Draymond got the rebound and started pushing the ball, Durant clapped his hands, meaning give me the ball. Draymond goes down, dribbles the ball off his foot, then madness ensues. Draymond's case was, that's hero ball. If I push the pace, instead of clapping your hands, you fill the lane, you get your three. Yep. Don't clap your hands. That's Russell Westbrook shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So that was how it is. And when they're playing their best ball, which they are right now, this is how it moves, this is how it rotates. I think the situation with Portland, Benny, is they had that emotional series versus OKC, that long emotional series versus the Denver Nuggets.
Yep.
And now I think they're spent. I think they have a little left in the tank for the night, but you see the Warriors are a 2.5-point favorite on the road.
Listen, no team has ever come back from 3-0, right? Mm-hmm. So literally the best you can hope for here for Portland is that they win. I mean, I said it before Game 3 even started. I said this series goes 5. I figured that Portland would win one of these two at home, so maybe this is the game, the pride game, where they're like, listen, we're not getting swept. We're going to come out and we're going to do our thing. You already know that Iguodala might not be playing tonight, so you're going to have a less than 100% Warriors team out there. If Portland's going to steal a game, this is the game they steal. But to be honest, this series is over. No team has ever come back from down 3-0. I don't think Portland is the team that's got the firepower to do it. They made a nice run. They're a nice team. They're a couple pieces away from really taking that next step forward. Maybe they win tonight. I'm not betting it either way. I'm kind of staying away from the point spread in this game. Just maybe look for some props, which is what's been paying off well for me so far in the playoffs. But for all intents and purposes, the Warriors are going to win the West again, and we'll see them in the finals in a week or so whenever that other series ends.
Oh, yeah, May 30th is the start date of the NBA Finals. So Kevin Durant will almost have a month off by that time. So they was able to manage that well. As far as the series in the Eastern Conference, Benny, I still feel like the Bucks are going to win the next – I still feel like this is going to be the series, and the Bucks are going to win the next 2 games. I think they'll win Game 4. I think they'll win back when they get back to Milwaukee. The Raptors do put up a fight last night, but I think that was the climax of this season.
Well, listen, here's what it really comes down to me, right? Like, if you watched that game yesterday, you're not a Game of Thrones fan, so you're probably watching that game. But for the Game of Thrones fans out there who missed that game, there was a play where it was like – and it wasn't even like a big deal. Like, it didn't look like he got bumped or anything crazy happened. But Kawhi made a layup.
I saw that play, yeah.
Yeah, he just landed – he landed awkwardly, and then he was like – doing that, like, that gate limp where you're running, but you're like, yeah, you can tell you're favoring one of your legs. And then from that point to the rest of the game, like, listen, this is how good Kawhi is. He basically played with no lift on it. He couldn't get off the ground. He couldn't get any lift. He couldn't get any push off on that. He wasn't running right. He wasn't moving right. And he still wound up carrying them for the last couple quarters, including the overtimes there. The problem is you got a Kawhi Leonard who's pretty banged up, noticeably banged up, like visually not 100%. If anybody who watched the game, you could see him kind of limping around out there. He played 50 minutes in a double overtime game last time, and that's what they needed for them to win. Giannis had probably his worst game of the entire playoffs. Yep. I mean, he had 6 points going into the fourth quarter. And again, credit to Toronto. They changed their defense. They got the ball out of his hands. They left him open for jump shots, and he wasn't hitting his jump shots. They were doubling every time he tried to come down, down the floor. They even used Kawhi on him at points during this game as well, especially earlier in the game before Kawhi, kind of got banged up with the knee. So they had a good game plan. They executed it. They did well. They were on their home floor. Toronto played a really good Game 3. The Bucks played a really crappy Game 3, and it took them double overtime to knock the Bucks off. And now you have Kawhi less than 100%. Like you said, to me, this series is over. I think that Milwaukee wins Game 4. I think it goes back to Milwaukee. I think they close them out, and then I think we're going to get the Bucks and the Warriors in the finals.
Yep, and so that's going to be the NBA Finals. It'd be good to see somebody outside of the Cleveland Cavaliers. But on the Western Conference, we have the usual suspects, basically. So I was telling you earlier, Benny, about this article that I saw. I was scrolling through some stuff this morning. I saw Ray Flowers. I had wrote a piece about the more or less the death of fantasy baseball and how, most leagues, the 12-team leagues, they've been around for years. Everybody's in their 40s. You don't got a whole bunch of cats in their 20s. And they basically were just exploring the different ways of how you can make the hobby, more appeasable to young people and stuff like that. Benny, I don't think the problem with baseball is – I don't think the problem with fantasy baseball is fantasy related. I think the problem with fantasy baseball is more of a baseball thing. And I really honestly feel that the reason why it is dying at the rate it is, Benny, is because baseball is a terrible television product. It really is. Sure. I remember doing these shows 3 years ago on FNTSY. We would open up the telephone lines. We would never take no baseball calls. If a baseball call did come in, we would say, how many people in your league? Most of them would always say 10. And I'd be like, it's 10-team leagues. Then sometimes you would get a lot of people that would say 8. And I'm like, that's an 8-team league? And I asked people, why are you in an 8-team league? And to a man, they always said, because we can't fill it. Yeah. And I'm like, season-long fantasy baseball is in trouble.
I mean, it is. And there's a lot of reasons. And you mentioned a couple of them. But, Corey, I'll even go so far as to say this. Like, when I started playing fantasy baseball, right, I was a teenager, which is, almost 25 years ago at this point, right? It was the only game in town. Like, if you wanted to play fantasy baseball, you played season-long fantasy baseball. You signed up, whether it was on, I remember, dial-up Prodigy back in the day, and I was playing, fantasy baseball on one of these little websites that popped up and stuff like that. And then you started getting, the Yahoos and the ESPNs and the CBS Sports lines involved in it and stuff like that. And that's where everybody started playing. And then Daily came along, right? And instead of you having to manage a team for literally, I don't know, over 6 months to get a payout at the end of the season, you could put a team in and get a payout at the end of tomorrow.
Exactly.
And at that point, you started seeing some of it go away. And now we're even adding another layer to that where now, a state like New Jersey, we have gambling, sports gambling.
Paid out in an hour.
Yeah, where you're getting paid out as soon as the game is over. You only got to watch one game. You only got to break down one game. You put your money on one side or another. You have a couple beers, you watch it, you see how it works out. At the end of the night, you get paid and you use it to pay your tab when you're at the bar or at the sports book or something. And I think that's one of the bigger problems that you have. Like you mentioned it, the guys playing season-long fantasy baseball are in their 40s and 50s. Yep. Because these are the guys that, like me, 25 years ago, were 15 to 25 years old, and we were in that demographic. And if we wanted to get some money down and make some money off of our baseball knowledge, it's the only way we can do it. I think the only leagues that are going to really survive are the big money leagues. Like, you're still going to have the NFBC going around.
Those leagues are, Benny, you're right. You'll still have those leagues. But the problem with those leagues are they're the same 40 people playing against each other. So when they're telling you that our league is selling out at an all-time high, it's no new people, though. It's the same 30. It's Modica and a couple of other cats.
It's all the guys that we know. Yeah, it's all the guys we know
that fill up these leagues.
You're right. It's Vlad. It's Modica. It's, it's all those guys. I mean, I still play them, too, so I can even throw my name in the list there. But, yeah, that's the thing. Like, again, I'm a hardcore guy that's done this for 25 years. So I'm still going to be playing in those leagues. I'm still going to be throwing some money in the cut line. I'm still going to throw in one of my main event ones every year. But the average fan is not getting. What's up?
You probably play less now.
Oh, I mean, I do. There was a time where I was putting in, 4 or 5 entries into things like the main event and the $1,000 leagues and stuff like that. Now I play one. I have one main event lineup this year, and then I have 3 or 4 cut line lineups. But again, the cut line is you don't really got to do any fab. There's 2 fab periods. You draft your team at the beginning of the year. You're pretty much, it's best ball. You get what you get, and that's it. And I think that's the thing is, like, for the amount of work you have to put into a season-long league for the payout that you get at the end, it's not really worth it. You're putting less work in on a daily basis to play DFS, and you're getting better payouts at the end of the day in that. So, DFS, I think, was the first nail in the coffin. Once sports betting nationwide goes live, I really think that's going to be the second nail in the coffin there. Like you said, you're still going to have some of those hardcore people. But the thing that makes fantasy football such a big deal is like everybody has a fantasy football team, right? Like you have an office pool where, the secretary's got a team and she's putting in a team. My wife is texting me when they're doing a fantasy football thing at the office, hey, who should I pick here? Because they have a league with all the people at her office. My wife doesn't know anything about football, but she plays fantasy football. You even have hardcore sports guys not playing fantasy baseball. Yep. Like, again, when I was in my teens, I was managing 15, 20 teams every season. I would sit down on a Sunday and just go team by team and do all my fab stuff, set my lineups for the week, do all the things that I needed to do. Now I have the NFBC main event team is the only team I have where I'm actually doing that.
Yeah.
Everything else
to do that. You probably like, damn, I gotta do the fab tonight.
Everything else is best ball. To be honest with you, I was watching the basketball game last night, and then I had Game of Thrones come on, and I was like, oh crap, I gotta do my fab. You're running around getting all that stuff done. Again, for the amount of work you put in, for the amount of money you can make, it's not profitable anymore, really. So it's all about the love of the game and just, wanting to compete and all that, which is great. But again, I'm not going to dump as much money into it now, especially when there are other outlets for my money that I can get it back faster and not lock it up for 6 months, between the daily and the sports betting.
See, what's interesting is like it's such a football is great on television. You know what I'm saying? Now, basketball is great on television, but basketball never really had a big fantasy hold, and I don't think they actually ever will. It's just not one of those sports that dictate well the fantasy, especially not on the season-long side. On the DFS side, is much better. Yeah. But I was in here the other night. I had a couple baseball parlays going, and just going through it, checking the scores and stuff like that. Benny, another one of the problems with baseball is the pace of play.
Yes.
There was some game that I had some money on. The fourth inning of the game, Benny, lasted 35 minutes.
Yeah.
And 1 run was scored.
Yep.
That's just not going to cut it.
No, especially in this day and age where everybody's got, screens all over and they want action, they want things fast. Well, baseball, what would be really good for baseball is some kind of a red zone. Because there's so much dead time in baseball. There's so much time where you're sitting there just watching nothing, waiting for something to happen.
The inability to score on defense hurts too.
Yeah, well, I mean, it just makes, like I said, it just makes the game so slow. I mean, and then you get to the end of a baseball game, right? And you got 4 different pitching changes going on. There's 15 minutes between each one because the guy's got to get his warm-up pitches and he's got to go there, and they got to go to commercial during that. I mean, if it's like the 8th inning of a baseball game and you're like, hey, it's the 8th inning of a baseball game, you still got an hour. You still got an hour of watching baseball before you're done.
It's plenty of baseball. And I think it's sad because I think so many people, it kind of grew up as, especially growing up where we grew up at, it kind of was like our first sport. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You growing up in Washington Heights with all the Dominican kids and stuff like that. You right out there in Jersey where baseball was basically started in Hoboken, right?
That's what they say. I mean, again, that was 100-something years ago. I still think it's a bullshit story, but whatever. Go ahead.
People in Hoboken always saying it to me. I'm like, baseball was invented here.
Yeah, the funny thing is, people in Hoboken, almost nobody in Hoboken is actually from Hoboken anymore. So it's like when people start claiming that, I'm like, man, get out of here. Get out of here.
You're not even from here. Come on. Frank Sinatra.
Come on. You were born in Westchester. Get the hell out of here. Come on.
Thank you. Exactly. Get back on that Metro North. All right. So that was my little thing on that. And I do think that season-long fantasy baseball may run into some problems, but the sport has to change in order for the hobby to pick back up. And I know they're working on trying to figure out ways to improve the sport right now. So interesting to see how that one turns out. How'd you like the ending of Game of Thrones?
I mean, listen, really, this was like this episode was just kind of like the tie up loose ends episode, right? Like it went the other thing too was like everybody kind of knew what was going to happen because the spoilers were out and people were already talking about it. I mean, hey, the one good thing, Corey, I made a little bit of money because I did pick Bran to end up on the throne at the end. When they changed him to like minus 500 a couple weeks ago, I kind of just figured that everybody knew what was going on by that point, and that's why they dropped him so much to the bottom. Listen, the series was awesome, right? And there's all these people bitching and moaning about, it ended horrendously. And I agree. The last season or two was not as good as the first couple ones, but it's still better than a lot of other shows on television, right? Like there were a lot of crap television that's on right now. It's still the best show on television, but it did not live up to the first couple seasons. I was like, this could become the best series of all time. You know, like this could be the best show of all time. After I finally caught up and watched everything, I'm like, oh my God, how was I not sitting here watching this show every Sunday? The last 2 seasons, though, they were still better than anything else on television, but they didn't live up to the first couple seasons. The first couple seasons were amazing.
What did you think of the finale of The Sopranos?
I didn't really like the finale of The Sopranos either. I thought, and see, the thing that I think a lot of people have is like the finale of these shows is not going to be the major, like, you know, battle or the major, like, you know, issue or whatever. The finale of a show like this, it's just kind of tying up loose ends, which is exactly what the Sopranos one was, and it's exactly what Game of Thrones was last night. Like, the big episode for Game of Thrones was like, was it the second one where they had the battle at Winterfell, and then the last episode where they had the battle at King's Landing? Like, those were the real, like, action-packed big ones that people, you know, that were like the series-changing ones. What happened yesterday was basically just tying up the loose ends, right? Who's alive, who's dead, who's going to lead, you know. Everybody knew that Dany was going to get killed because, you know, basically she became the quote-unquote Mad Queen and all that stuff. I mean, really, it went exactly as you expected, but it wasn't really, like, an exciting episode, you know?
You know what it is with these programs and these series when they come to their finales? You can't just end them. It can't be no finality to it because the series makes too much money and it becomes so popular that why end it? Why cut it off?
Right.
So it's almost like, okay, we got something here. Let's just leave it open-ended. We'll tie up some pieces.
That's exactly what they did.
Open-ended because at some point we can bring it back.
Yeah. So, I mean, the way they ended the series yesterday, you could see that there are potential spin-offs on it for them to go over there, right? Like, you had Arya going to see what was to the east because everybody's always, or the west of Westeros, like, you know. So she's going to be like the new, I don't know, Christopher Columbus or something and sail around the world and, you know, meet new places and have adventures. So you can see that being a spinoff. You know, Jon Snow gets on the horse and goes beyond the wall with the wildlings to go live with the wildlings. So you can see how that could be a potential spinoff right there. You know, I mean, you got, you know, Bran back there running everything. Nobody really gives a crap about Westeros anymore. Like the 6 kingdoms now, because Sansa's like the north is the north. We're going to do our own thing. So now you guys just have 6 kingdoms instead of 7. You know, like that stuff is all just like nobody really cares. But you could see that that they could set it up for like a Jon Snow spinoff. You could see that they could set it up for like an Arya spinoff. And those are really the 2 best characters that people liked, mostly because they were cool and they killed people. You know, you could see how people would probably tune in to watch that. But it's never going to be as good as the original Game of Thrones, you know, first 5-6 seasons.
Exactly. And you talking about those spinoffs and stuff like that, you see they're already filming the Sopranos prequel, The Many Saints of Newark. So they're already filming that. So that'll be out next summer. So these series, it's too big to shut them down. Interesting to see what they do with The Wire, if they figure out a way to get a spinoff or something off of that. Do they have a spinoff of that? Not really. Well, The Wire was a spinoff of The Corner, if you remember The Corner from way back in the day. And that was the in-depth look at drug usage. So what else do we got, Benny? Oh, Dante Wilder. Wow. The punch heard around the world. I mean, that was very, very violent, Benny.
We were talking about this before we came on. That's a bad man right there. That is a very, very bad man right there. I mean, you knew, but listen, I mean, that's the way everybody expected it to happen, right? I mean, he was minus 285, I think, to knock him out. So, yeah, not even to win. To win, he was like minus 1,000. To knock him out, he was like minus 285. And most people even thought that was a little low. It should have been like
it was plus money to go to it. For it to go to the card was plus money.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
Yeah, people expected him to go out there and knock him out. He knocked him out early. It was a big time knockout, man. He buckled that guy's knees. The guy was down for like 7, tried to get up, and then just like shuffled back to the ropes. Yeah, the ref was like, no, we're good with this. This man's about to die if I let him fight anymore. So, you know, Wilder, he's a bad man. You know, he's the champ for a reason. He went in there, he knocked him out. I got to say this, though, and even going into that fight, a lot of people were saying, like, why is he fighting this guy? You know, the guy he was fighting was just overmatched, and everybody expected this to be the way it worked out. And this is the thing. Like, again, I like UFC a lot. I know there's still a lot of people who aren't into it. You know, boxing to me is kind of on the decline because UFC is just so much more exciting, right? You don't sit through 12 rounds of two guys just dancing. There's a lot more action. People are going after each other. There's more than just the punching, because you got the kicks, you got the different disciplines of, Muay Thai and BJJ and everything else that's involved in it. I really honestly feel like boxing had its heyday, and now it's just kind of like a secondary sport. Like, I think
the heavyweight division is really been hurtful. The death of the heavyweight division, the rise of mixed martial arts has really hurt the sport of boxing. Wilder can be the guy that brings the heavyweight division back. The problem is, besides Tyson Fury, he don't have nobody to fight.
See, that's the thing, is you need a good matchup, right? Like, you need,
he's the rival.
Yeah, you need somebody to push him to be his best. Basically, the problem with boxing right now, at least for me, for the last, I don't know, I'm going to say maybe 10 to 15 years or so, is that you always have one guy who's so much better than everybody else, right? Like, if we would have had like Mayweather, Pacquiao going at it in their primes, that's what people want to see. And that's why people like UFC. Because in the UFC, if you're a contender and somebody's got a belt, you guys are fighting. Yep. It's not going to be this BS dance like we had with Mayweather and Pacquiao for 10 years, to the point when they finally fought, nobody gave a shit.
They was washed up.
Yeah, nobody. I mean, I'm not going to say Mayweather was washed up, but Pacquiao was. You know what I mean?
Pacquiao was. Mayweather.
Like, those two guys fighting in their prime would have been something that everybody would have been interested in. Those two guys fighting 10 years after their prime still did the pay-per-view numbers, which is all those guys cared about, and no knock on them for getting their money. I mean, Mayweather's really smart with stuff like that. As much as people say he's an idiot and he can't read and blah, 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 and all this stuff. You know what he could read? He could read the numbers on his bank account. He could read the name where he has to sign on his contract. And he did a good job of, making sure he got a payday out of that. But really, that was a fight I wanted to see 5 years before it happened.
Exactly.
And that's the problem with boxing right now, is like,
same thing with De La Hoya.
Yeah. Like, if you're good in boxing, your gravy train, you want to keep that gravy train going. Why did Deontay Wilder fight this no-name scrub yesterday? Because now he's got another knockout YouTube highlight that everybody's going to watch, which is going to bring more fans into whatever his next fight is. But again, he's not challenging himself by fighting guys that he can knock out in the first round. You knock out the number one contender in the first round, you're a bad man. You knock out some guy that most people thought was a stiff, who really cares?
He had to knock him out, get him out the way early. And, we was back and forth. So we was, the fight's getting ready to come on. And we changed back, and then the fight was over. And we was like, yep. He did it. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You watch it live, it sounded like somebody hit a double to the gap. It sounded like the crack of a bat. It sounded like –
yeah. Oh, no. I mean, listen, he knocked him out. It was a great punch.
It was bad.
And all that. But again, this is another thing that sucks about boxing, right? Let's say, I don't know, it was on Showtime, right? So it wasn't even a pay-per-view. So that was good. But, like, when you have these pay-per-views for boxing and a guy gets knocked out in the first round of the championship fight, you have everybody sitting around the room like, and you've heard it before too, because I'm sure you've been in rooms where everybody's like, yo, why do we just pay $60 to watch that shit?
Yeah.
Why do we just pay $50 to watch that fight?
I think the Zone is going to end up changing that new app or that new station, the Zone, because, they're getting, I think they're going to become real big in the fight game. And right. I think they may lead to the death of those big time pay-per-views and stuff like that. Obviously, the work that ESPN Plus is doing with UFC, those streaming services are going to get ready to take over.
Good.
More like WWE did with their streaming service also. So interesting to see how that one plays out. But that was one of the excruciating knockouts from the weekend. How did the horse race go? I didn't get a chance to bet on the horses this weekend. I didn't get the chance to play the ponies, Benny. How did it go?
Yeah, it didn't go well for me. Basically in the Kentucky Derby, right?
Max talked about War of the Will the other day.
Yeah, well, basically he was the horse that was the question mark for me, right? Because we couldn't really get a good read of how good he was against these horses, because he was the one that Maximum Security cut off.
Yeah.
So Maximum Security cut him off. He had to check. He had to slow down. So you didn't really get, like, the best representation of his talent. So when I wrote him up in the article, I said, listen, I don't really know how good this horse is. We know that he was good enough to be in position to win the Derby, but we don't know if he would have had enough left in the tank to actually bring it home. His running style wasn't the greatest one to win the Preakness, but he did get a really good draw. At Pimlico, it's really tight turns on the track, and it's not a really long backstretch. So the horses that are towards the front of the race and the horses that are towards the rail usually have a big advantage. So from him starting from the one hole, basically he didn't run out to the front as the speed, but he stayed on the rail, saved ground the whole way around. And, when he had his chance at the end, he kind of squirted forward and took it down. At 6-1, I wasn't going to be betting on that horse. I didn't think there was value there. Still don't think there's value. Still don't think he's a very good horse. I think he gets trounced if he tries to run back in the Belmont Stakes here. But hey, no knock on him. He's got he had a nice payday. His owner's got a nice payday out of the whole thing, and he's the Preakness champ. So good for him.
That's what matters the most right there. So the Preakness got that one done, got that out the way. The next leg of it will be the Belmont Stakes. Right here in Long Island, New York, for some odd reason, I don't know what it is about the Belmont, but I'm always, like, whenever – I have a sister that lives in Valley Stream, which is 2 or 3 towns over from Belmont.
Uh-huh.
And it's like I always find myself going to her house on the damn day of the Belmont.
Oh, dude, you do not want to do that.
I know, Benny, and I'm sitting
there. Oh, it's horrible, man.
Like,
what is that, the LIE right there? It's horrible.
How did I end up out here on the day of the Belmont again? You know what I'm saying? Like I've been to 6. They must have something that weekend. Why am I always there that weekend?
I have no idea. I mean, it's like the second or third. It's usually like the second or third week of June.
The kids just got out of school.
Yeah, it's probably around that time, to be honest with you. I mean, listen, I've been to the Belmont probably 6 or 7 times, and you basically have to make a day of it because it's a pain in the ass getting in and out of there. I mean, that place is huge. Like, if you've never been to Belmont Park, it holds a lot of people. Like, I was there when Smarty Jones was going for the Triple Crown that one year, which was like we hadn't had a Triple Crown winner in 20-something years when he was going for it that year. It was a mob scene. Like, I left early, and it still took me about 2 hours to get home. And again, I mean, there's always traffic and all that stuff. But normally, if I left right now, I could be at Belmont Park, even with a little bit of traffic here this morning, in probably an hour. So I mean, you're talking more than
maybe 35 to 40 minutes. Yeah.
I mean, to me, it would be tough getting through the tunnel. But once I got through the tunnel, it's not that bad. You basically get on the LIE and you just go straight out there, and it brings you there. I don't know, man. It's like it's a fun thing to do. I'll tell you this: if anybody ever wants to go to the Belmont, the thing to do, there's a train that leaves from Penn Station to Port Authority. It's a Penn Station, yeah, train that leaves from Penn Station that stops right there. So just take the train, bring a sandwich with you, bring your racing form, do your handicapping on the train. Then when you get out there, you can hang and chill, and it's a pretty good time.
Yeah, but much better than driving out there.
Do not try to drive on Belmont Stakes Day. It's not a good idea.
It is a disaster. So that'll be the next big horse race coming up. Benny, happy breaking down for that one. Don't forget all the picks are in the site elitesportsbetting.com. When you go over there, they're handicapping everything and doing a good job of it. Benny, I decided with my ticket, I'm not going to sell it. I'm going to hedge it. It's tough to hedge it because right now the odds are not good on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What are you getting? Like -3?
Here's the thing. Well, with the draw is the problem. You feel what I'm saying? The draw is the problem. Now it's like, okay, they do have an option where you can bet Liverpool.
Right.
And you can bet Liverpool, and if the draw hits, you get your money back.
Yeah, draw no bet.
Draw no bet. Yeah, they do have the draw no bet option. Right now, the draw no bet on Liverpool is -235.
That's not horrible, though. What's your win? Is it 1,088?
Yeah.
If you win it the other way?
Yeah.
So -235 if you bet. I mean, basically, if you hedge it, what are you going to do? You're going to hedge like half of it, or you're going to hedge the whole thing?
I think I'm going to hedge about half of it.
So if you're hedging about half of it, you're betting what, like 500 to win 200?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
honestly, it sucks to say, but it's like it's almost worth it to kind of let it ride.
Just let it ride, right? Yeah.
But like, what sucks is if you lose, you're walking away with nothing.
Exactly.
You know? But see, the big thing is you're in for $25, right? It was a $25
on the day when I went to cash out.
Yeah, like that's why it might not be a bad idea to hedge half of it, because at least you know you're walking away with. At worst case scenario, you're walking away with $175 profit. Best case scenario, they win and you walk away with like $550.
Exactly. So there you go, right there, and that's probably how I'll do that. But no, I'm not going to get rid of that ticket because it very well could hit. So there you go, right there. Did you see this thing yesterday, Benny, at Morehouse College?
The guy who's paying off everybody's student loans?
That's wild.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You don't understand how big of an advantage that is to somebody coming. That's an advantage to
somebody who's paying about $35,000 worth of school loans off. Yeah, I understand exactly how big that was.
That's huge right there. I think his name was Robert Smith, so shout out to him. You know what I'm saying? So that was a good look right there. That was a big story, and I saw that over the weekend. I was like, I got to ask Benny about that joint because that is an excellent come up. So shout out to that to Robert Smith. He gets a big piece of chicken. That's my big piece of chicken right there, Benny. I know you're doing the baseball article tonight. We got a loaded slate. Is there some things that stick out to you? I don't want to go through this game by game.
I think the Yankees are in a really good spot against Cashner here today. I think the Washington Nationals are in a really good spot. I think they're going to win that game. Let's see. I'm trying to look at what else I got here in my notes. Oh, I love Atlanta today. The kid Mike Soroka pitching for Atlanta. If you haven't seen this kid pitch yet, he's one of the big prospects. He came up last year, threw a couple innings, and then wound up getting shut down for an injury, which kind of sucked because I basically blew my entire load in mid-season fab on this guy. And he had a couple really good starts and then didn't make any more. But he's pitching today, so I think he's in a really good spot. The Chicago White Sox have a complete bullpen game today, and they're going up against the Houston Astros, who are one of the hottest offenses in all of baseball right now. So I love the Astros today. That's another team I'm probably going to have some money with. Again, one of the big problems with a lot of these teams I'm mentioning, though, is I don't really love the money lines on them. So I'm going to probably be doing some parlays. I think I did one already this morning. It was like Houston, Atlanta. I think I went Houston, Atlanta, New York, Houston, Atlanta, Washington. They were all paying plus money if you put two or three of those, like minus 180, minus 190 favorites together. So those are some of the ones that I've kind of been looking at here, this morning. The Arizona-San Diego game, really good pitching matchup there in San Diego. Luke Weaver against this kid, Chris Paddock. Chris Paddock has looked like the best young pitcher in baseball. He's got a sub-2 ERA, 0.75 whip going into this game. He's over a strikeout per inning, just been kind of dominating. And that Arizona team, when you take them out of Arizona, put them in San Diego, much less favorable hitting environment. I think it's really, really good to bet the under in that game. And for anybody who's
7, Benny.
I still like the under. I'm telling you, Luke Weaver, both him and Weaver have basically been going like 6-7 innings and giving up 3 runs or less. So unless one of those bullpens blows up, this is going to be like a 2-1 game or a 3-2 game, worst case scenario. And it kind of leads me to the other thing I was going to say today, Corey. I'm doing the baseball hitting article today, and then I'll be over in chat doing the hitting coach thing. If you don't know how to play DFS and you're one of our subscribers and you're trying to get a little more interested or you're trying to get a little more information, make sure you get over to the the Elite Fantasy Hitting Coach MLB chat page. Because what we basically do is we go over concepts that everybody should need to know if they're playing DFS.
No doubt.
Today, the concept we're going to be going over is ballpark factors. And this is a great example of it, that San Diego-Arizona game. Arizona being such a good hitter's park, even when you have good pitchers in Arizona, you got to be a little bit worried. San Diego being such a good pitcher's park, when you put 2 good pitchers in a game in San Diego with an offense that's getting a major park downgrade like that in Arizona, that's why I like the under so much. And a lot of the stuff we use for DFS is also stuff that can help you make money in betting. So, make sure you get over there. I'll be doing it today, the hitting coach thing. And, hopefully we can give you guys some information that'll help you make some more money.
No doubt about it. It's the opening line, part of the Elite Fantasy Sports Network. Benny, you got a big piece of chicken to hand out?
Yeah, I'm going to give mine to Kawhi Leonard because it might be the last chance we have to do it this year. Like I said, he was hobbled. He did not look good, and he still helped carry that team to a 2-overtime victory there. Some big plays at the end with some steals and some dunks to kind of seal the deal. And again, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about because that game went into overtime right as Thrones was starting.
No doubt.
A lot of people probably didn't even see it.
All right, there you go right there, the opening line. Make sure, once again, thanks for rocking and rolling with us. For Benny Ricciardi, I'm the fantasy executive. We out.